First of all, your thoughts on the film, guys. That was quite a powerful film, a lot of humour in it, a lot of honesty. It was fascinating to hear the audience wincing at some of these massive hits as well. I think we all felt them. Rick, I'll start with you. You know a lot of these guys. What memories did that bring back for you?
I knew quite a few of the guys in the film. I agree with a lot of the comments that were said about the fighting, and I think the game's just gotten incredibly fast, and that's where a lot of the injuries seem to be happening these days. Mm-hmm. But I thought the film was great.
Kyle, your thoughts on it? Was that what you expected?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was very well done, very thought-provoking. It's a great insight into the minds of fighters. It's a tough job, and I'm glad it's not my job.
Brendan, you've played two-way contracts in NHL. You know a lot of these guys as well.
Yeah, it's.
How did they come across?
Yeah, I thought the film was really well done, and a word that comes to mind is nothing but respect. It's when you watch the film and you see it's respect. I can't think of anything else other than the respect I have for those guys. It's
quite fascinating that these guys are obviously very, very valued in the dressing room. That they're part of that team. They're part of the heart and soul of it. There's a lot of camaraderie. Is that the right word?
Yeah, it's they're a huge part on and off the ice. It's kind of sad to see that it's kind of leaving the game. I'm sure Rick's known a lot of those guys too, and I'm sure he can have the same words I gotta say.
Allan, your job's to try and keep these guys in line and try and separate them.
Sometimes.
Yeah. You've stopped more fights than they've started, I dare say. Yeah. What's your take on that from a refereeing point of view? I thought it was interesting. The referee said he had less hassle with the enforcers than with anybody else. Is that your experience?
I think the out-and-out tough guys, they're a lot easier to deal with. You spend a lot of time during the game speaking to them, mm-hmm. and you give them the respect, they give you the respect back. And most of the time, they're the easiest guys.
Why is that? Is that because the job they've got?
I think you try to understand what their job is. You know what their job is. I think they're the only guys that can tell you how they feel in their job. But the enforcing side, you would rather see two guys drop the gloves and fight, whether it's in the first minute of a game, as having to keep your eye on somebody that's just skating round about with a stick that you're having to watch for 60 minutes because you don't know what they're going to do.
Well, you said you talk to them all the time. What's the sort of dialogue? Because I guess we don't see that on the ice pad. There's a lot of things happening on the ice pad. There's a lot of chatting going on. I suspect a lot of fans don't pick up on. What's the sort of dialogue? Are you telling them, calm down, or just hang on a sec there, or what you say to them?
It depends who it is you're talking to.
Naming no names.
Some guys you can ask to calm down, and other guys you can tell to calm down.
Some guys you ask respectfully, please calm down, sir, if you don't mind. Also, the whole enforcers debate, some people they want fighters out of it, some folk love fighters. Where do you stand on that? How do you address an enforcer? Is it an integral part of the game? Has he still got a role to play? Feel free.
Yeah, I think it's a vital role in the game, like they said. Like guys like Gretzky maybe wouldn't have put up the numbers like he did without the likes of Semenko and whatnot. So I think as a player, if you have a guy on your team that's willing to pay the price and lay his body on the line for you, you feel a little more comfortable. And it's just kind of a safety blanket you have with you on the bench, and it's nice to have.
And Rick, why the enforcers? Why do they divide opinion so much? Is it because of the violence? Is it because of the fighting? Or is it because they're bigger, larger-than-life characters?
Yeah, well, I think the majority of the enforcers that I've played with or against tend to be the funniest guys in the locker room and the most liked. Obviously the game's it's kind of shying away from it, and I think media has a big part to do with that. But I've always enjoyed playing. Knowing that someone's got your back. It makes everybody on the ice 6 inches taller, and it's nice to have that security blanket. Definitely.
And when you're playing against an enforcer, does that change your thinking? There's a guy in another team you think he is as mean as hell. Is that in your mind when he's coming towards you at 35 miles an hour?
Well,
or is it just part of the game and you don't worry?
You know who to look out for on the other team. You look through the lineup the day before or the day of. You know which guys you need to kind of try to avoid. If they get a little bit angry or whatnot. And some of the bigger. It's not always the big enforcers that are the scariest. It's the guys that run around with reckless abandon. Or you don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to chop you in the head or hit you from behind or hit you 10 seconds late.
Who's the toughest guy you've played with or against in NHL?
I played 2 years with Wade Belak and 2 years with Ty Domi. Those are some of the tougher guys that I've played with. It's hard to say who's the toughest guy ever. You could see the enforcers, the tough guys on the film couldn't even give you one distinctive answer. So, to have a chance to play with those two was something special. And we lost Wade. Fortunately, he was a great guy. And I loved playing with him, loved hanging out with him, and he'll be missed. And
these guys bring an awful lot to the dressing room. Is it character? Are they all characters? I mean, I've met one or two guys that are enforcers that they're very smart, intelligent, very, very quiet guys off the ice. They always tell you they love their mothers straight away. They're the exact opposite to this. Big Matt Nickerson's a remarkable example. You chat to Mark, he's the most articulate guy going. And you see him on the ice and you think, I wouldn't go within 100 yards of the boy. Is that common for a lot of enforcers? They're very, complex characters?
Yeah, one of my best friends is Trevor Gillies, who's a fighter, and the stuff he does off the ice for the community, and he goes to every charity thing. He speaks with the fans. These guys do so much off the ice that people don't see. They just think they're animals on the ice, but actually they're some of the greatest guys I know.
When you're talking to him, do you ever say to him, how do you get into these scraps? I mean, I read his rap sheet. He's done some not incredible, scary stuff on the ice. 9-game bans, 12-game bans. It's like an occupational hazard. How do you shoot the breeze with him and say, why are you doing that? His reasoning is he's protecting his teammates. Maybe one of the guys did something to one of the guys, one of his better players on his team, and he feels he's got to go out to make sure that never happens again. Allan, who's the toughest guy you've had to deal with as a ref or a linesman?
Mike Weir.
I was going to ask, I thought you would say.
Mike Weir, without a doubt.
Why?
Again, that's obviously going back years and years ago, but it's still the same this day. I find the genuine enforcers, the tough guys that come and play here, are the nicest guys that you'll meet off the ice. Every single one of them. They're all the same.
So what made Mike Weir, all-time hockey fans were when Mike Weir lost it, you stood well back. He was one heck of a player as well.
The biggest problem with Mike was Mike didn't know what he was going to do.
So as a linesman, you're trying to almost read his mind, thinking, and he has no idea. He's just the red mist has come down, and all hell's letting loose.
No, it was just a case of how am I going to try and stop him tonight? How many jerseys am I going to go through tonight?
How many did you go through?
Aye, quite a few. Quite a few.
I get, as part of the enforcer thing, has been for you guys that are refereeing, it's dangerous for you boys. You're then caught in the middle of two guys who might have just been slugging it out. Got to go in.
I would disagree there.
No?
The enforcers are tough guys. They respect each other and they stop. As you watched in the film, if they notice one of their guys is hurt or injured, 9 times out of 10 they'll stop, or one guy goes down, they'll stop. But going back years ago, where there was maybe some players come over to this country who thought they were the tough guys, they were the guys that didn't stop. They would still try and drive his head into the ice, and they wouldn't care if the linesmen were standing in front. But that's why they were here.
Looking back to your days as young guys, and you're playing hockey as kids, were there enforcers that you looked up to? Were they the guys that you tuned into on Hockey Night in Canada? Were they the ones that caught the imagination back then, Kyle?
No, growing up, really, I always followed Wayne Gretzky. The goal scorers. You always dreamed of scoring the goal in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You never dreamed of getting in a fight in the Stanley Cup final. So it was, for me, it was just about being the goal scorer, not a fighter really.
And Rick, when you're watching hockey as a young boy, the enforcers, are they stars in the NHL? Are they the guys that stand out, or is it the Gretzkys and the playmakers and the real showmen?
They both have their own place. Growing up watching Hockey Night in Canada, obviously the star players were the main attraction. But if, like you said, when Ty Domi would have a fight at the Maple Leaf Gardens, everybody would be standing up and going crazy, and there would be a buzz in the arena for 5 minutes after, just hoping to see them do it again. So.
I mean, that buzz that happens, Brendan, when it happens, whether it's NHL or across the Elite League, the rink goes crazy. As players, are you tuning into that? The crowd's gone mad, it's on its feet, there's been a fight, it's happened. Can that change a hockey game? For sure.
It definitely changes the energy for yourself as a player. You feel like you get a little extra jump in your step sometimes. You feel a little faster, you feel a little stronger, when you hear the crowd roar, and when there's a fight and you win the fight, to see your fans, to be in your corner, and your teammates, they'll do everything, give you a pat on the back. It's a great feeling.
When we spoke, when you played your 1,000th game of your career recently, we spoke, and you mentioned about when you were aiming for the NHL, the reports you get back from the scouts, you're getting good reports. We also mentioned you had some good fights, and that was important back then. And it's...
I think I can knock this guy out.
We'll see.
We'll hold the jackets. What I was going to ask you was, back then, you're shooting for the NHL. Are you aware of the need you have to prove yourself as a fighter?
Well, back then, I guess I'm getting a little older now, but back then everybody was a lot bigger and stronger, and I'm not a big guy, so I had to find other ways other than scoring goals. I wasn't a 50-goal scorer. I might get 20, 25 goals a year, but I wasn't scoring 50 like some of the guys, and I had to find another way. And for me, I started to play a little tougher and get some fights, and it kind of made me get a chance to get an NHL contract.
I noticed in the film they talked about the code. So what is the code?
Buy the book. Buy the book and read it.
I mean, is it true that people talk about the code, but it's not a written thing? Can you define it at all, or can you put it into words?
No, like they said, they know what it is, but they don't really know what it is. It's just a common understanding between the guys, and it's just one of those things they know inherently.
Is it mutual respect? A knowledge that you're on the ice pad, things might happen?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is just mutual respect. You don't want to see a guy get hurt, and they just follow the code.
I'm always interested when two guys start talking on the ice and you think they're going to go. What are you saying to each other then?
Do you want to go?
No. I'm the oldest person here. No chance. Things happen in ice hockey matches. It could be an incident, it could be a reaction, it could be a spark, or it could be something that is pre-arranged. What's going through your mind then? The two guys say a nod or a tap on the skate, and you're away. What's going through your head then? As a player, I'm quite fascinated to know what's going through your mind. Is it a case of don't get hurt or get this over and done with as fast as you can?
I mean, for me, any fight I've been has just been spur of the moment, kind of drop the gloves and start throwing punches. And it's just adrenaline and emotion. And I've never had a fight where I've had to square off. I think it'd be incredibly tough knowing, you're going into a game, you got to fight a tough guy. It'd be a tough job. And it's something I wouldn't want to do night in, night out, and I give them credit and respect, like Brendan said, and it's tough mentally for sure.
Rick, the guys that have to do that, they know that it was interesting that the guys were saying that they're flying across to the next city, and on their mind they're thinking, I've got to fight player X. I know he's going to go for me. They spend their whole day, worrying about it, preparing for it. How are they on the road trip? Are they quiet? Or how do they handle that?
I think a lot of guys, like I said, a lot of the guys that do that job are pretty outspoken, funny characters. Maybe it's just what they try to do to take their mind off it. Because I couldn't imagine having to think about going into another city and I got to fight this guy, and then tomorrow night I'm going to this city and I have to fight this guy. I think it would be mentally draining. I definitely I couldn't do that. It would take away, I think, so much of your life, being away, thinking about the fighting, time away from your family, and it's a pretty uncomfortable situation.
And that's not why you become a sportsman. To play sport is based on skill and talent. I mean, not many folk grow up thinking, I can't wait to go around and beating folk up. Or if they do, they end up in jail. Well, certainly over here. One part I was quite fascinated was the talk of equipment changing as well. I wasn't aware of. I hadn't really. That seems to be overlooked in terms of the general fighting, good or bad. Can you explain that to those of us that don't play the game? What's the thinking? Is the equipment just getting too strong now, or too robust?
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one because we have two different groups on our team that some guys wear the big coat of armor and other guys just wear orange peels on their shoulders. So, the technology of the equipment, a lot of the newer stuff has hard plastic, on the shoulders or on the elbows, and you definitely, when you get hit with that hard plastic, it's twice the impact as the old softer stuff. And I noticed that, and especially the sticks today too are so strong, they don't break. So a lot of the dirty slashing and cheap stuff in front of the net, I think it hurts a lot more than it used to.
Is that something does the sport have to address this now then? Is it becoming an issue that people are not talking about? Or is it just part of the evolution of ice hockey?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I grew up where it's been a part of it my whole life, so it's to get that mentality of changing, it's tough. I've been doing this for 20 years, and to have to totally change of my thinking on that is tough to do. I'm
guessing, Allan, that referees don't have body armour then. You get the same kit as he?
Some guys wear chest protectors and elbow guards, depending what trousers you've got. Some of them have inbuilt padding, but they're not very thick, and the girdle, and obviously your leg guards. I don't like the body armour and the elbow guards, but some, especially the linesmen, you see quite a few linesmen wear them. It's
a far cry from, I remember speaking to Gordon Latto, and he was saying that he started out with Fife Flyers. They used to take the Fife Free Press, it used to be a broadsheet paper, and they rolled it up, and that was their leg guards. Because it was that thick. Great sales to the paper as well, so we'll have to bring that back, I think. I'll happily give you papers on Saturday, you can put them down your socks. Looking back, Allan, how has the sport changed with enforcers? Are you dealing with them? How have they changed over the last 5 years, 10 years? Are they on the way out?
I wouldn't like to think so. I hope not. I think they're vital for the sport. I think near the beginning of the film, you've seen in the European leagues when there's no really any enforcers, the stick work's unbelievable. I'd rather see two guys fight as two guys try to just chase each other with their sticks all night long.
But Brendan, you've played in Scandinavia. Is it as bad as they made out in the European scene? That it's a different style of hockey, is it?
Yeah, it's they use their sticks a lot more. That's for sure. There's a lot more slashing and high sticking, and it's different. And in some of the places in other spots, places in Europe, you get fined for fighting. I remember when I was playing in Switzerland, and I played an exhibition game at the start, and I got in a fight, and I had to pay $700 after the game. And I was like, what? Well, I'm never doing that again. So it's different. I think it's very important to keep the fighting, I think, just to keep away guys running around recklessly. So
is that the view of most hockey players then? I mean, the survey said that 98% of NHL players want enforcers to be retained. It's outside influences are saying it's unacceptable. Is that the view that you have, Kyle?
Yeah, I think it needs to stay in the game. I think the people that are saying that are not involved or don't really have an idea, or it's the media trying to sway things. So I think it's a big part of the game, and it keeps the dirty play, like the stick work and stuff, slew foots out of the game.
I mean, I think the media certainly got a fair kicking in the film. They were. Is as a journalist, I should defend the media, but I think, is it journalists saying this is wrong, it must be cleaned up, but they're making the point that enforcers does not equal concussion. Enforcers are there, they have a role. They seem to be saying that they still got a role to play. Do you think they'll still be around for a while?
I hope so. I think over the past 10 years or so, there's been some incidences that have happened on the ice where a couple players have passed away. Obviously, you see some of the people in the film that have. But it's, I'd like to see it in the game for sure. I think it's always been there, so there's no need for a change.
If you go forward 5 years, where do you think ice hockey will be in terms of the enforcer debate? Will we still be having it, or will things have happened to change the situation?
I think you might not see a person's role, like someone who's there strictly to fight. I certainly hope they keep fighting in the game. You just might not see that role person who really who's there just to fight. That might be gone.
Kyle, do you think 5 years' time down the line, what do you think the sport will look like?
I think it's going to work in cycles. Like you see, Pittsburgh won last year, and they built their team around speed and transition. And then whatever a team does to do, like they have success, other teams try to model that. So now for the next few years, teams are going to try to build around speed and transition in a quick game. And then as soon as a team that's big and tough wins, and I think it'll just kind of maybe go back and forth a little bit.
Allan, if you're still refereeing in 5 years' time, it'll be 35 years?
I'll be 30 now. 30 just now, so aye.
35 and you're still shooting around the rink at full speed.
I wouldn't go as far as say shooting round. If certain defensemen was a wee bit better at shooting the puck, then
no names, of course, no names. You got two defences to pick from. In 5 years' time, what sort of games do you think you'll be refereeing? Does the sport have to evolve?
I think this country has always been predominantly North American style. I know there has been times where some teams will bring European players in, and obviously you've got to have so many in your team. But I think it's what the fans want as well. They're used to being brought up North American style hockey. That's what they want. I don't think any fans in here would say, "Oh, I don't want to see any fights of hockey."
And when a fight does break out, what is, from your perspective as a referee and your officials, what's the first thing you do? Do you have a set duty? The guys are scrapping away in the corner. What happens from the official's point of view?
I normally tell my linesman to get out of the way so I get the best seat in the house. No, really, for the linesman, as long as it's two guys that are willing, then first of all, try to clear everything away from their feet, because the last thing you want is a guy stepping on a stick or something and going off balance. And just really stand back and let them go. They'll tell you when they're done. So
Is it a nod or a pat in the back, and you know it's done?
you kind of know. If they don't, one guy's taking a beating, then the linesman will jump in to stop it. But normally when it's two tough guys, they know when they've had enough.
I also find it quite fascinating that two guys can knock 7 bells at each other and then have a beer.
That's a respect thing.
First time I saw it was I remember Big Roger Hunt at Murrayfield and Russ Perront going centre, toe-to-toe centre ice in Murrayfield, and they're up in the sponsors' lounge having a beer in the range thinking about golf. I thought, this guy just punched my lights out. I'm not going to play 7. It is part of the sport, though. I mean, what happens on the ice stays on the ice. Is it easy as that to reconcile in your own mind? If somebody started a fight with you saying, "Hey, do you want a beer?"
Yeah, for me, it's very easy. I think as hockey players, we've learned to leave things out on the ice. I think once the game's over, you can see, we shake hands with everybody at the end of the game, and once the game's over, it's over, and till the next time you play each other. But during that time that the game's on, it's a different feeling I'll have. But I was good friends with Rick Rippon, and him and I had fought each other a few times in our careers in the American Hockey League, and we had no problems ever going for beers after.
It must be unique to ice hockey, I think. Apart from maybe boxing, I can only think of. And Rick, is it the same in the NHL? I mean, is that there's a lot of respect amongst these guys. They're throwing some pretty big punches. There's a lot of potential injury there.
Yeah, well, these guys, a lot of them are friends. It's just the job they have to do. You have to get up and go to work. It's their job. So, they're a pretty tight community. I've seen two brothers fight against each other in the NHL, which is insane to think about. Someone who you've grown up with your whole life and you're related to. So, the fraternity that they have is pretty unique, and you look at it as a job. You got to get up and go to work.
So there's an admiration as well as respect for the guys who are enforcers. Is it the toughest? Is it the toughest job in ice hockey or any sport?
I wouldn't want to do it all the time. I think it's a very tough job they have, and like I said right at the start, it's respect. I have nothing but respect for those guys. It's a tough job, and I feel that it's probably the hardest job in hockey.
Has anyone got any questions they'd like to throw at our panel? It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grill 3 hockey players and a referee.
No, let's go.
No? Is there stories behind the numbers on the back of the jerseys? Are you superstitious about as a number you have?
I wore 26 most of my whole career, and then when I came to Europe, it was retired. So I had to switch, so I picked 49 because I liked the way it looked. So that was easy for me.
As scientific as that. Yeah. Rick, you wear 55?
Yeah, it's kind of one of my first numbers that was given to me. So I just kind of stuck with it. You get some wacky numbers when you're a young guy in training camp, and it kind of shows everybody that you're not on the team when you're wearing a number 98. I guess those numbers are kind of cool these days, but back in the day, if you have a weird number, you're just a rookie and everybody knows it. So to actually get a good number, it meant a lot.
And Kyle, you used to wear 55.
Yeah.
You've gone down to 44.
Rick stole my number, so I had to choose a new one, and I just like the double digits, so I just went to the 4s instead of the 5s, and I'm not too picky behind it.
Because Allan, referees have got numbers now as well. Do you get to pick it, or was it just... So what number? You're 16. Obviously it's your age. Clearly.
I can't even remember that far back.
Any reason was it a number at potluck? Or?
It's a number. When I was younger, I played that number. So I just decided to take that.
Any other questions before we wrap it up?
Is the worst injuries you've had ever come from a stick or a body check or a fight?
The worst injury from a
Is
stick?
that for me or them?
All 4. Worst injury from a stick, a body fight, or a check?
I've had 2 really bad ones. I took a puck to the face where I had 10 breaks. Broke my nose, my orbital bone. I had cheek, and throughout the nose, I think there was like 8 breaks. And last year, when I broke my arm, I got 2 plates in there now and 12 screws. So, and that was from a body check.
Can you top that?
Nope. I think the majority of the injuries I've had over my career are from hits. Whether you see a guy coming or you don't see a guy coming. Also pucks, they're getting shot in at 100 miles an hour. It could hit off anything and jump up and hit you in the face or catch you somewhere where you don't have equipment that hurts.
Kyle?
No, I'd agree with a puck in the mouth hurts a lot, or I've been hit in the corner, separated shoulders, but nothing from fight or nothing from sticks really. You'll get the odd slash, but our gear's good enough, you don't even barely feel it.
Talk us through your injured foot.
Toby hasn't upgraded his equipment yet.
There was a hand.
Sponsors listening to that then.
There was a hand away up the back, in the middle there. Yes, sir.
It depends. It depends on how you look at it right now. You know, there are some teams that I know have a lot of tough guys, and they're not doing as well as we are right now. So it depends on how you look at it. You know, I think there is times, you know, I do wish, you know, maybe we did have one, but at the same time, I feel if we're able to be tough as a team, you know, we can go without. But it just, as long as we're all willing to be tough together, I think we can have it. But if we have a few guys that aren't willing to join in on that, that's when you really feel you have to have a fighter, I think, with it.
And Rick, how do you feel about it? It's all about team toughness. It's about team spirit at the end of the day, about everybody working together and really gelling as one strong unit.
Yeah, you know, I think we have 20 tough guys in our room. I think each guy, you know, brings a different aspect, you know, to the ice, and I'm real happy with our team. You know, I quite enjoy the style that we play, and you know, like Brent was saying, having that team toughness, everybody sticking up for each other, seems to be working for us right now.
And it doesn't necessarily mean fighting all the time. You know, it's just as long as we're, you know, throwing the body, playing tough, and, you know, just getting down and dirty in there, in the corners.
I suppose we should, before we finish, we should touch upon the game this weekend against Braehead Clan, which is going to be an absolute cracker again. You've got a great rivalry with them. I mean, Kyle's legendary winner against them is still one of the great highlights for many.
We were both in the stands, I think. We weren't playing then, so it's okay.
But you're in Kirkcaldy now, so we celebrate small victories and big victories. I forgot you guys are playing against us. I do apologise. When players change teams, it comes back to bite you in the arse. I'm always wary if you criticise a player and you slag him off in print, and then 2 years later he comes and joins you as a new signing, you go, hello, yeah, that. When Jeff Hutchins arrived, my sports editor said to Jeff, I apologise for every single thing I ever said about Dundee Stars. And he was great with it. I mean, I've never actually ever had a trouble with a player that way, I have to say, apart from one. One did threaten me many years ago. He offered £20 to pick me out in the crowd. I thought it was worth 25. And he was one mean guy, so I actually ran away. Braehead on Saturday, Kyle, that's a big game.
Yeah, it is. I first got here, we played them twice there, and they kind of had their way with us. They're a big, strong, physical team, and it's always fun playing them. They always have a good team. It's always a fun rivalry, and once again, I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a different result this time.
And Rick, also, as part of the Braehead team coming to Fife, is it the tough place to play in that we keep saying it is? Because a lot of the guys do not enjoy coming to Kirkcaldy. It's a really intimidating rink to play. Yeah,
I think the fans, you know, they're crazy and loud, and they sit so close to you too, so you could hear all the nice things that they're saying.
You hear what they say about him. And Brendan, you've obviously played, again, Braehead coming to Fife. What was it like playing against Braehead in Fife, where you had the rink with you as opposed to hating you, I suppose?
Yeah, it was a huge difference. You know, the support here is really good, and they're loud, and it's you know, like Rick just said, they're right on top of you, and you can hear everything. It's pretty crazy. Whether it's good or bad, you can hear it. But you know,
Allan, you're used to the Fife crowd, of course. They're great admirers of you. From an effort, I mean, do you just block all that noise out when you're on the ice?
I think if any referee or linesman goes into Fife and they let that bother them, you'd be as well just putting your kit on eBay.
It comes with the territory, but you've got a job to do.
Oh, definitely. But
is it a fun place to come to as well?
Not just in Fife. I'll say this for probably about every arena now, and I think it's because of the rise in social media. People can come in and pay their money and shout whatever they want during the game, as long as it's not too personal. But some fans have got to realise when that buzzer goes, that's when their money runs out. No, after it.
Absolutely. I think on that note, can we? We'll draw the Q&A to a close here. Could you please thank, first of all, my panel tonight, Kyle Haines, Ric Jackman, Brendan Brooks, and Allan Craig. We're back here tomorrow night with Ice Guardians 2. If you'd like to see it again, please come along. We have a different panel tomorrow night of Flyers legends. Chick Cottrell, Bean Anderson, and Gordon Latto will be on the stage. You want to come and hear their stories about old-time hockey and the days when things really kicked off? Well, Bean and Chick are your storytellers straight away. Just a few very quick thank yous. Thank you so much to all the fans who tweeted about this event. You made it happen tonight. Thank you so much to Fife Cultural Trust, to Evan Henderson for bringing the film to Kirkcaldy. It's been an absolute pleasure to be part of it. And finally, thank you to my panel once again. So we're back tomorrow night. There are tickets available if you want to come along. Failing that, we'll see you ringside on Saturday for Flyers against Clan. Safe travels. Good night.